The Bring a Trailer Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bring a Trailer Podcast. Alex coming to you from the studio at Bring a Trailer headquarters, joined by Randy Nonnenberg. Hey, Randy.
Hey, good to be here.
And a surprise guest who joined us a few minutes before we started recording, Jim Huff. Jim.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Thanks for having me. I don't think I've ever used your fresh name.
Huff, Jim Huff.
I answer to both.
But usually to Huff. We are all fresh back from Monterey Car Week. You guys were both racing, and so what a wonderful coincidence to have you stop by, Huff, so that we can talk about driving. And you guys both did historics and prehistorics, is that right?
We did. I thought we were going to talk about speedboats on BAT, but we're going to talk about racing. I'm ready to talk about racing. I'm ready to talk about speedboats, whatever you want to talk about, Joe.
Let's talk about Monterey and racing because it's fresh on the mind. It's something we did a couple weeks ago, and wish I was there today.
You wish you were 3 weekends back to back to back.
4.
You did the pre-reunion. I did the pre-reunion. You kind of convinced me to do it, and it ended up being a great decision. Just some practice laps before the actual event, because the actual event goes by in a blink of an eye.
It does. The actual event, the reunion, you're getting 1 run a day, 4 days in a row. And then the pre-reunion, you are getting 2 races a day, 2 days in a row, and there's less people in the group. So it does give you a little wiggle room to test a few things and gear up for the reunion itself.
Tell everybody what you were driving. That's the most important part.
So I'm driving a 1965 BMW 1800 Ti Neue Klasse car, a 4-door sedan. And I race within the Dan Gurney group, they call it, during the event. And it's also called the Saloon Group. So it's an interesting mix of sedans, Julius Supers, quite a few Alfa Romeo GTAs this year. A few minis were tossed into the mix, Ford Anglia, and a couple of other random cars to get us to a field of about 30 cars.
You've done pre's before, or you've only done historics?
I've always done the pre, and I find it to be helpful. I'm going to be down there anyway and sort of make the most of this time of year.
How do the two compare in terms of like size of groups that are running? Is it about the same, or is the mix about the same, or is it pretty significantly different?
I think Randy can attest, it's somewhat different. I think for my particular group, which is different than Randy's, I think pre-reunion we had about 20 cars, 18 cars, and then the reunion we had 30 plus. So it does jump up a bit. It comes a bit more of a full field there, and the start's a bit different, and there's always a place to find a race within the race.
Who's fast? Who's out in front? The GTAs?
Definitely the GTAs were the fast cars this year, front of the pack for the most part. But there was also a couple behind me too this year.
Nice. Do you have 26Rs in your group, or are those one of those snuck into my group? That's a different group. Those things can run with the alphas or beat the alphas. So you have alphas in your group that are pretty hot, but BMWs can keep up.
Not my BMW, but yes, some BMWs can keep up. But nonetheless, it's still such a great event, and it's an honor to be out there keeping the spirit alive, if you will.
Randy, could you intro the kind of car you were driving and talk about the difference for you, first time for you for both pre's and historics?
First time for me, but I was just coming off of Road America, which made it a little easier entry. I had a little bit of practice at a fast track and a slightly more intimidating track where I had never been before. But Laguna was interesting for different reasons. Higher end cars, expensive cars. On Sunday, I was racing a car. I was a little bit intimidated and scared to try to pass or try to outbrake or do a Cobra because I don't know. Don't want to mention it really much. I don't even know.
Yeah.
All I know is don't bump into. So that was kind of a different sort of feeling than some of the cars at Road America, which were a little bit more like modded for speed, and they were not as much sort of trophy pieces as they were in Monterey. So Monterey was super cool. It was a dream of mine to be there. It was a dream of mine to be there with Huff. We've been talking about this for years. He's been trying to get me to come. I've been the kid on the fence, since I got pictures of me when I was 7, 8, 9 years old at Laguna Seca on the fence, like watching guys race Mustangs. So I got to race, 65 Shelby GT350 and run in a group with Corvettes and some Cobras, real Cobras. Jim Farley was the winner by far in the group in his 427 Cobra
with the black heart,
super fast.
He did so well in their car.
Yeah. Anyway, but a number of really fast cars and fast drivers. A lot of drivers that had been there for a long time, and then some drivers that were like young and handed the keys to these fast cars. And it was wild to see pro drivers go and rip them around. So we had a lot of fun.
And I got to throw it back at Randy. I mean, applaud him. He did so well out there, having not run that GT350 too many times on the track. And it was really impressive to see how he was, chipping away, as I say, at those lap times. And sometimes that race is really just against yourself and not anybody else out there. And Randy was figuring out some of the goodies that make you go.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, no, it was fun to do it. But when you're at the beginning stages, you tend to chip off a lot of time, right? And like as time goes on, you start like worrying about hundredths and maybe tenths. But right now, I'm still chipping off a second. Yeah. So anyway, so that was good and really fun to do. But also E-Types and Sunbeam Tigers in my group. I neglected to mention that. So some real cars to go out and run against.
And a big contingent of GT350s.
Yeah, there were 8 of them in our group. One of them didn't start. One of them had a mechanical. A couple guys had some interesting things, but I ended up fourth GT350. So I was kind of middle of the group, but found my guys to run with. And the cool part was, the 4 cars in front of me and me were all within 1 second lap time. So we were kind of pretty close. And that's a race and no race. So it was cool.
Alex, as you know, I mean, the event itself is just so awesome to go wander the paddock and whatnot because of the variety of cars. So Randy was talking about the cars within his group and the cars within my group. And you just have this plethora, a buffet of vintage machines that even when they're not running, it's just so engaging to cruise around and check them out and speak with the drivers or people to work on them, the crew or whatnot. And that's what creates a well-rounded event.
Anything catch your attention in the paddock this year, Huff?
I would say this gentleman named Hiroki and his 26R race car on the back of his stretched Volkswagen.
Oh, that little vintage setup. Somebody sent that to me, and he had the old director's chairs and the whole. That was such a cool setup.
Yeah, his whole setup was brilliant in a non-racing manner, but also he ended up taking P2 in his class behind that Lotus. So it was great to see that car running and great to see that car sitting. The IROC cars were cool to see together, gathered all in one spot. And then I have my go-to favorites, Steve Walker's 3.0 over at Racecraft. And Randy's car was great to see, honestly, for the first time in person, even though there was a few others there. It is Randy's car. And so, I looked it over a bit more and the setup just seems amazing. Yeah, we could go on for another hour about that, but yeah.
Totally. I gravitate towards the weirdo pre-war stuff, as you know.
Yeah, we were going over talking to the old guys running the Bugattis. I mean, really cool early stuff.
That light blue unrestored Tech 35 was there again. I love that now.
So we were looking at that. So cool. But then there were 80s Trans Am type cars, right? Like the Fox Bonnet, the Motorcraft, Capris and Camaros and stuff from that era are super cool.
Love those.
And I was pitted with a really cool 68, is it? 67 911S, I think, Trans Am car, the Pacific Northwest car. Anyway, there's a really nice variety. And then they had the big F1 display, which I thought they did a good job of doing. Old F1, like Mercedes, Silver Arrow early stuff, all the way up to my kids wanted a picture next to, the current McLaren F1 car that was there and the current Mercedes and stuff. So they had a good showing.
They had a 154, like a Fangio car there. Yes. They also had an 804, which is the only Porsche Grand Prix car. It only won one race, and I don't think it was. Bertie definitely drove it.
Encyclopedia Alex is coming out.
I want to say somebody else won in it. Joachim Brint, maybe. Anyway, not a very successful car, but amazing. Little tiny flat 8 in that car. Anyway, they gathered some great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The IROC series was cool. Did you see Howard was kind of geeking out about all the big names climbing out of those cars. Sure. Button was in that class, but Jeff Gordon was there too.
Those are even better names down the sides.
Well, and I think some of them, maybe Labani, some of them were driving their old cars. Some were driving other guys' cars. It was an interesting situation.
If you search IROC on BAT, not for the Camaros, but for the race cars, one of the guys that was very competitive walked up to me in the paddock and said, "Hey, I just bought my IROC race car on BAT and I'm racing it. He got it for $50,000 on BAT. He was out there and he was fast and he was mid-pack. And I remember him, his name's Randy, because he came up to shook my hand and said, "I'm Randy too." And I was like, "Wow, which car are you in?" He was in one of those Crown Royal NASCAR looking things. He's like, "Yeah, I got it for $50,000 on BAT." And I'm ripping. And I looked him up and he was like, good. He was like in front of pro guys and stuff.
Good for him.
Anyway, I was pretty stoked to see. That's like a good bug. It's always fun to walk around the paddock and see some BAT alumni.
And just one more part on that. I mean, it's also great to walk around and, Bay Area connection wise, there's some gentlemen there that have been racing that event for decades. And they're there this year racing once again. I think of Marnix and his TZ, John Norman, a few other folks like that. That is just another big component of it because all the decades they've run that event just give you a higher level of appreciation as well.
Those guys are loyal. And I think Marnix's longest tenure, he was at the first one or something, which is incredible that he's still out there racing number 7, which is a very valuable car. We appreciate him.
Yes.
He was here last week with some visitors before walking through BAT, which is super cool.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of those car guys and racers are floating around, and it's cool to reconnect with them. People were asking me about the week in general, and I'm always like, the track is the place to be.
I did the same thing, and I cross paths with so many people who go to quote unquote car week. And I'm like, hey, which day did you go to the track? I'm like, no, I haven't never been to the track. So I'd like to push that out there in the universe for people that are attending several days in Monterey to look at cars and do these other on the lawn events or whatever it might be. Get to the track for half a day or a full day or whatever, because the action there and the cars there and just the spirit and the energy is unlike the rest of the happenings around the Monterey area.
Last thing I'll give a shout out to is the Pebble Beach road races. Little display there on the end of your road. Did you see that?
Oh, yes.
There's probably 5 or 6 cars that are early 50s era shags or road racing specials or weird stuff that they tie.
Hours.
Maybe the hours were on back then, as you know, to the Pebble Beach road races, which are whenever I'm down by the Pebble Beach Concours stuff, I'm always like looking down the roads, like imagining that old era of, string a start banner across and, throw on your goggles and go rip in a V8 powered car.
And that even sliding the bus into those trees.
I know, but everybody died and it was so dangerous. So anyway, crazy stuff. But a couple of the cars had ties to the actual event, but some of them were just in that spirit. It's a good connection point for the local geography.
Yes. I mean, the historical component is just hard to even measure.
To Randy's earlier point, I had such a ball in Wisconsin at Road America and maybe got a little carried away in my enthusiasm and then came back to Monterey. I was like, oh, this is where the heavy hitter cars are, right? Like you almost take it for granted. You know what I mean? Because there's so much to see and so much to take in and so many significant cars.
It was fun.
Did you guys, presumably there's fewer spectators or maybe almost none at the prehistorics? Is the vibe around the track considerably different too? Does it feel more Huff like kind of a standard vintage race?
I would say there's still some action. I mean, it's not as amplified as the reunion itself. And there's definitely more spaces and gaps open within the paddock. But the energy's rumbling. It's being built. It's not like you're going from nothing to all of a sudden everything. It's a nice build up.
A lot of people are doing both.
Yeah, people do both. And honestly, a lot of people go to pre-reunion to avoid all of the crowds at the reunion and get a little more breathing room and don't get caught up in the shuffle quite as much.
Can you stay set up in the pits the whole time, or do you have to close down and reset up?
You stay in the pits, yeah. You set your stuff up on Friday and stay through, a week and a day after that.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. That's nice. Kind of living there. Did you guys get away from the track that much at all? I know, Randy, you had a couple dinners, but
I ended up getting sucked in quite a bit. I would race in the morning and I'll certainly be out here by like 11. And you look at your watch and it's like 4. And you're like, oh, okay. So I guess today was a track day all day, just because there's fun stuff and you run out people and then you have lunch and then you want to catch that race at the Corkscrew at 2. And then this, that, and the other. No joke. I mean,
time is different there.
Yeah.
Time is different at the track. And as Randy was saying, all of a sudden you cross paths with 30 people you haven't seen in a while and you're pulling all these directions and 4 hours goes by, but you're trying to get into Carmel Valley or into Carmel or to Monterey to go check out a street show or go to a dinner or some other event. And sometimes you end up missing those things.
Yeah. I got away one day. That day I came out to Mohr Imports and saw you out, right?
because you had super early morning races.
I had a morning run, and then we were watching the live stream from Mohr Imports. Mohr Imports is a cool dealer. They're our local partner in Monterey, and they were selling 15 cars, and they were just having a great old time, and we had our crew over there.
So those were all live on the site during the event?
Those were about during the...
Yeah, oh, great.
They've all since passed, but people can look at it. What did they call it? They had some name for it. Postcards.
Postcards from Monterey this year, but they've done that 6 or 7 years in a row, and this was a really big year. They had great cars, and it's the old Porsche dealership, their facility. And I'd never been...
You know the name Wester? It used to be painted on the side of famously a 904.
Oh,
And then, is it Don Wester? Anyway, this was the VW Porsche outpost in downtown Monterey, California. And they raced at Laguna with some cool stuff. And I'm sure sold Beetles and buses and everything else into all the cypress tree properties down there, which would be pretty cool to go drive down to Big Sur in your air-cooled VW. So anyway, what a cool spot. But yeah, they have a little facility in what used to be that dealer and are moving cars through there like crazy. I had never walked through their little showroom, and the back area was all full of cars marked sold on BAT in the whole place. So we had some fun there.
they were really successful. We've recorded a pod. I want to hang out there every year. We were watching one of Howard's races and everyone was cheering him along. The whole staff was there. It was great. We had a lot of fun. You were right, by the way. Dan Gurney's the one who won a race in that Butcher Formula One car. And that was what drives me crazy because I love Dan Gurney and I can't believe I dissed him that way. Anyway, it really hurts my heart.
Don't diss Dan Gurney.
I know. When he raced one of my favorite Grand Prix anecdotes of all time, when he raced his Eagle car that he like built himself, or the, you know, that was like the all-American entry, he would, because he was so tall, you know, Gurney bubble and everything, he would hunch down. It was before belts. This is like 1966 or 67 to get more speed at Spa on the straightaway. Like, because he was so tall, he would have to hunch down in the cockpit to get it all the way up to 197 or something like that.
Amazing. Terrifying.
That's Road America stuff, dude, and high speeds. Did Laguna feel more approachable after the very high speeds of Road America?
Yeah, it was 145 miles an hour versus 120 something at Laguna on the front straight. Totally different rear end gear setup. I forget what we swapped out my rear end ratio to, but it was way lower for Laguna Seca because you don't hit those insane speeds that you do at Road America.
Yeah.
And a lot of tight corners, tighter racetrack.
More technical.
More technical, fewer turns, but short turns and interesting stuff at Laguna.
How far afield have you taken the NK, Huff? How many tracks have you taken it to? Have you gone back east with it at all, or is it pretty much all West Coast?
No, California is where it's lived. I've been racing the car for 5 years. That car was owned previously by Steve Walker. So yeah, it's only been California centric. I've been sort of lightly threatening to go to some other tracks up in the great Pacific Northwest. But that's sort of where I am with it. Local.
Have you done Willow?
I have not done Willow. I've done Button
Willow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Confusing. Willow Spring, Button Willow.
Yeah, I go. And then there's in Button
Willow.
Spring. Tree. That's his full name. But
Yeah. That car could theoretically race at Pittsburgh Grand Prix, right? In the trees. Speaking of racing in the trees.
I went to that event and there was one of the other ones. And years ago, didn't I send you that photo? There was a guy with the 17 car. Wasn't it the silver red 17 on the door? No, you're 17.
yeah.
You're upset. Maybe it was 71. I remember he had this serif font, this fancy font. I don't know what it was, but there are NKs that run out there. That means maybe you could.
Yeah, don't people run streetcars in that event, actually?
It's an interesting park course,
Yeah.
and I'd like to run IROC. I should bring you with when we do run the BAT race team. We've dreamed about that for a long time. Like touring Goodwood. Okay, let's put him on an airplane.
Oh, yeah. As soon as Bring a Trailer comes into the mix.
It's like we're going to law. Let's go. I know you guys didn't ask. But
That's great. All of a sudden, the ambitions are more brought. We're lightly threatening to go the good one.
you know, you can't do it all, but you can only try.
That's great. Ravi, what is the feedback after? I mean, you jammed an awful lot of racing experience, vintage racing experience in a pretty short period of time. How are you feeling about the Stang after all that time?
And everybody's asking that, like, what are you going to do next? Yeah. And I'm like, man, I just got off the track with that thing and I like lived the full dream. And now I don't know. I mean, kind of like decision paralysis. So Jim is like volunteering me for all the next season and stuff that we're going to go do together. But I'm like, man, I don't
But in a small bore car,
story.
he wants you to be in a car runs in his group.
Well, he doesn't care. He just wants to be at the track, hanging out, run with the bro. Yeah, run anything. But it would be fun to run in the same group. But no, the Mustangs, we're going to do some tweaks over the winter and see if we can have some more fun. I mean, I would do Monterey again if they'll have me again. That was a great event.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I'm racing to get back to Road America with that car right away, but it's fun to be on track. I enjoy it. I'm not a daredevil, but I do enjoy trying to improve upon my skills. And I really like just kind of being inside the ropes a little bit. It gives you a different mentality of where you need to be and win, and that adrenaline feeling when you're sitting on the.
your brain is firing in several different ways in regards to shifting and braking and apexing and who's around me, who's in front of me, who's behind me. And, mastering that and developing the racecraft, if you will, is just what I find so intriguing and interesting about it. And once again, just sort of carrying that spirit of the 1960s and a few other decades that surround it, in a current day manner.
Yeah. What's the camaraderie like with the other drivers in vintage racing at this level? Do you walk over to the other pits and chat with people? Like,
Depends on the driver.
okay.
Yeah, I would say it's mostly chatty. I would say, sometimes there's situations that, don't wreak too much havoc, but, it's not like you want to go sit down and chat with the person as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
I mean, I heard guys wander in the pits like looking for a spare transmission. There's stuff going on. There's these shoes that come up and you need some camaraderie. And in my group, I thought it was super interesting. You start to, just from being on track with some of them, you get the feel for what people are like. You're like, whoa, that guy's aggressive. And then you're like, oh, okay, that guy's just sort of cool being here. He's back of the pack. I mean, that guy's really, really good. And I'm going to try to follow him.
Right. That's what I was asking about. Right.
And then, so anyway, it kind of susses itself out. And that's why it's helpful to have the days in advance as well, because I learned a lot the first couple of days about the cars, the personalities, about, side by side on the front side. Can I get that guy or can I not? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you go chat. Some of them came up and chat with me. They're like, hey, you're new here. What's your deal? Send me up a little. And then some of them are just super friendly and like, hey, it's great to have new folks here and thanks for being here. And
So as a whole, it's mostly that, honestly. I mean, the really people do rely on each other because not everyone has every single part or a machine or tool to fix something. And, it's good to have a good rapport with folks because you're into situations where somebody's going to help you out in a manner in which you can help yourself.
Yeah. Of course. I was thinking with so many GT350s, Randy, you were saying a big group of them were like right around the same pace. It can be really invigorating and like create a lot of enthusiasm when you tuck in behind a guy who's right about your pace and you're sometimes, trading off back and forth. That can be like, I've ran over to somebody else's pit and been like, dude, that was awesome, right? Like that can be pretty fun.
yeah, absolutely. You can grow in your camaraderie like that. And then the next, you like go to sleep and you're like, tomorrow I'm going to chase that guy down and I'm going to get him. And there's some like, some of it feels really good and some of it feels a little, like competitive gene kind of comes out, whether you realize you had it or not, and you want to go faster and you want to improve and you want to do it differently. You're like, oh, I screwed that up. I had him, but I blew it in 11 or whatever,
Mid-shift.
Yeah. And brake properly. Totally.
Yeah, stuff happens. You want to challenge yourself with that. And, again, even on track, it's great to know sort of who's to your left and your right, and understand each other and find common ground.
You guys get frustrated. I was a helmet yeller back in the day. You ever yell in your helmet? Or you guys keep it calm? You both are pretty cool cats.
I yell in my helmet.
I at myself. That's me. Me just like, oh man, you did that again. You told yourself 10 times you weren't gonna, do that move, and you turned in early again.
Friends don't let friends turn in early.
Yeah, I do yell at myself in the helmet for the most part, but there's also those situations where I'm definitely yelling at somebody else outside.
I had a couple where I was just going down the front straight and just stoked, like yelling out of stoke.
Yes.
You're like, that's crazy. Yes. How do I get to do this sort of thing? So anyway, it felt. And once going through 6, did I tell you about this? This stuff was my like euphoria moment. I was going through 6 and it was 6. It was GT350, Cobra, Vet, me, and Shelby like right in my mirrors. And I was like looking around. I was like, this is crazy. Yeah, like you're a favorite Disneyland ride as a kid. You like can't even nearly compare, right? I was like, this is really just really crazy. So anyway, I had that snapshot in my mind. And then it went up to the corkscrew with all sorts of chaos and tire smoke and people died bombing. And yeah, I was that little free. I mean, it sussed out okay, but I mean, man, it's just a fun environment. So fun to watch from the crowd and also fun to be there.
Amazing. I'm jealous of you guys. I really like that. I've been present at 2 of these 3 races that you have done, Randy, and 1 that you were at, Huff, and it makes me forget all the reasons I quit racing years ago.
But there's also good reasons to do it.
I was thinking, one of the things that's a pain in the butt is, and I think you guys both escaped this, but having to have a tow vehicle and a trailer parked somewhere. But little B&G racing team.
I haven't escaped it.
Yeah, okay. You driving around in a pickup truck, huh?
Yeah, all exposed to the endings and good for you. Yeah, hope it makes it.
Yeah, and I was borrowing tow rigs, so there was a lot of the please don't overheat on the Tehachapi grade kind of stuff. So
I still want to get a pretty simple tow setup. And so people are shaking their head at that, but I want to get like a station wagon unibody that you shouldn't even put a tow hitch on.
Could make it.
And do it and tow a Shelby behind some sort of galaxy.
It's like a picture renegade
or something like that sort of package setup.
You and Marnik showing up with paneling on the side.
He used to tow it with that thing, I think, right?
I think he beats it. He still brings all the parts to the track and everything.
Yeah. So anyway, I still want to do that sort of thing. I think a lot of people talk, ramp trouts and fancy trouts and renegades,
Vista Cruiser,
all this debate stuff. But if you can set up where it's a pickup truck or a van or a station wagon, like those old Goose Lake pictures from, 66, 67 in the parking lot.
Yeah, mimicking such things isn't bad.
That's what I'm after.
But ultimately, it's just, getting the car to the track.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready to race. But I understand the more interesting components of that could be a great ramp truck that's period correct, or the Clark Griswold station wagon setup could be awesome.
downgrading is actually a positive. Like I started with a big enclosed trailer and ended up on a little open single axle, right? Like make it simpler. But a lot of the cars you guys are running with, people would be nervous to do that. They want the big fancy setup.
Yep.
I mean, that's what, Monterey shows as well. I mean, when you're cruising the paddock, it's, a big setup with 8, 9, 10 cars under the tent, down to people that are just running solo and privateers, as I call them, compared to the group efforts. That's another interesting component to it, to sort of see the overall of that.
Speaking of privateering, Huff, you were telling me a couple days ago, you ran the Enduro solo at your own fueler.
Geez. So
did you really? Could you gas your car?
So my
Pretty baller.
my car gassed me. The past few years at the event in Monterey at the Historics, the Saloon group on Friday were the last race of the day, and we do a 1-hour enduro race. And so one has the option to choose a co-driver, or you can run it solo. There is a mandatory stop in the middle of it where you have to go into the pits for 3 minutes. And historically, the past couple of years, I've gotten out and gassed up my own car, gotten back in, put on belts, and then go for it. This year, I did a test and maxed out my gas tank before the race.
Yeah.
And actually made it through the whole race. I think it ended up being 29 or 30 laps, and pulled in, waited for 3 minutes, and went back out. And yeah, it's different. Speaking of time, like we were earlier, time takes on a whole different thing when you're in the car for an hour, lap after lap, and you start sort of floating off, and next thing you know, you're like, why am I way out here in turn 9? And you have to keep your thoughts collected and keep some level of focus, so you're not sailing it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's great.
That was great.
You have interest in doing something like that, Randy?
Our enduro sounds pretty long. Man, it's a lot of work to drive that car. I think yours is a lot of work. I mean, they're all a lot of
They
work.
are. Yeah.
But you nail it. Man, I was like sore for a few days after. If I did an hour-long stint, most of the stints are 22 minutes or whatever they are, right? So, man, an hour-long stint would be serious. But I may sign up for the driver change option. If you want to trade in, dude,
I was going to say, Cramble would probably jump under with that.
Yes, he would. I hope he's listening to this. He was sailing around the track. Yeah, what was he driving in 3 different groups by the end?
Amazing.
I don't know how he's like Iron Man, but he could certainly set a lap that I could aspire to in my own car, so that would be fun. But I'd love to bring somebody else in to drive that. It would be fun.
The guys who do multiple races, that's crazy to me. Like that Button was all over the place, right? Jensen Button, he just running in a bunch of different groups. That is wild to me, to be able to hop out of one car and right into the other.
There's people doing, 3, 4 groups at times, it's not uncommon for people to be doing two or three.
Did they hold up your start sometimes for someone in another car? Shout out to Chip Fudge, who's a big BAT user and buyer. He was racing in my group. He was in that crazy Bizzarini.
I did see the car, yeah.
And he was running in the group before us, too. So they would hold the start. Everybody would be, and he'd come up on a pit car. I'd jump out and jump in the car, and we'd take off. And I was like, back to back. I was like, man, that's got to be, you talk about doing an enduro. Try doing it.
You got to recalibrate.
But they know, the organizers know, like, who we're waiting on, who's running up the runway, like, come jump in. And they're waving at him and giving us the 1 minute that he's belting up. But anyway, there's some logistical fireworks right before you pull out.
So when it's all said and done, I mean, to keep all the balls juggling in the air, it's a feat in its own right,
There's nothing like that, man. When they hold up 3 fingers and then they hold up 1 finger, it's like Oh, it's on.
You're ready.
The peak mist.
Yeah. Heartbeats shift, adrenaline starts pumping, and you just want to get that pace lap over with and get through that start and you see where you start landing, you know?
When was the last time you watched the Stephen King movie, Le Mans? They have that whole countdown thing where the heartbeat gets louder and louder and the little Rolex clock is ticking down.
It's been a few years.
That movie was made by a guy who's raced before.
Yes, our buddy Chris rented out a small theater for his birthday and showed that film a few years ago. So some of us did a little vintage car back road run up to the Guerneville area, and there's a theater there, and he showed Rendezvous and then Le Mans. And so that was a really cool thing to be part of.
I have kind of a hankering to do a rewatch car movie podcast with you guys. Like some car movie, we all watch it and then we talk about it on the pod.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Tell me which one.
I thought we could crowdsource it a little bit. There's some famous car movies that I've never seen, and I did a little test drive of this. I rewatched Ronin the other day.
Talk about that one right now. Yeah, we can talk about that whenever you want.
Audi.
Don't pronounce it like that.
Make the list.
I'm ready. What else, Huff? What else you want to share? Any other cool moments?
You know, I'm just super stoked that Randy is behind the wheel, you know, yelling at himself within his helmet and trying to gain ground with his skills on the track. And I just feel like it's just a thing that we've both sort of wanted to do. Like he was speaking to earlier, you know, we hung on the outside of the fence and watched so many races over many years. And, you know, you have those thoughts on occasion about how do I get on the other side of the fence? And so, you know, the past 5 years, as I mentioned earlier, I've had the opportunity to be on the other side of the fence, and now Randy's there, and I'm sort of a cheerleader for a bunch of folks trying to get him out there to race when and if possible. And yeah, it's just a component of my life that is interesting and trying at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's working. You're getting your buddies out there, man.
Trying.
You're a good cheerleader for that. We're just talking, and we're also always riff on Cars live on BAT. This BMW we were talking about, dude. Did you see this thing when it was live?
No.
Maybe 1600. It has a 60. It had Sears Point and Laguna history from early down to the level of trophies and timesheets,
amazing pictures and from documentation
from the 70s. And we were like, wait, how do you get that time? We started comparing his time. Turns out he was racing this on the old format of Laguna Seca with no turn 3 full
straight up the hill,
straight up 2.
Yeah.
So this car was there like way back in the day. It just sold it sold August 26th on BAT.
And Steve Walker got that car.
I wasn't going to out that. I didn't know if you were going to say who was bidding the car. Anyway, he grabbed this BMW and we're excited for that. That's a cool car with real history on BAT, and seeing old Laguna Seca stuff go through the site is also sort of part of the magic.
It's that historical component, you know, you have to appreciate it. And it's just so awesome to see documentation and images and old trophies. And you feel like you can understand aspects of it, even though you weren't there exactly during that moment in time.
I brought home my timesheet.
Yeah,
I brought it home, right? You know, hopefully someday down the road, somebody's going to look at that and be some Looney Tune. You got 148.
I feel like it's a carry the torch kind of thing. I mean, it's keeping the spirit alive, truly.
I watch Randy and I'm like, oh yeah, big bore cars. But really, I see, you know, 510s with like Rebello. Like that's the car to actually start with.
When they see my performance, they're like, yeah, you probably should start with a 4-cylinder.
Low horsepower cars.
I always say start with the BMW 2002.
I've never driven a high horsepower car on track. Fastest car I've ever driven on track was my S2000. All my race cars have like 120 horsepower. So it does teach you not to step on the brakes.
Good to see these cars going through BAT though, man.
I love it too.
And you brought that up. You could bust it over to the office and you're like, did you see that race car? Oh no, you didn't do that.
I might have already gotten a text about it too.
You also brought a piece of furniture to the office. What are we supposed to do with that, Huff?
Nothing.
Look at it and admire it.
Just admire the aesthetic beauty.
I got a text from somebody that said, I've been a bad boy. And it was in relation to that car. That's all I'm saying.
Cool machine.
Awesome.
What else we got? We talking about other stuff on the site? We can talk about boats with fins if you want. Do you see that? A Chris Craft on the site called the Cobra. Are you familiar with this? They only made 108 of them. 1955 only. It's like their crazy performance boat. I've only ever seen one of these live. It was at the Tahoe boat Concours. Check it out. It looks sick.
Oh.
Very 50s design. This one's in SoCal, but it lived its whole life on
It was a Tahoe.
That's live on the site right now?
Live on the site. That thing is not going to be cheap. It's got a huge caddy V8 in it.
That will have closed by the time this podcast goes live.
I also want to tell you, I didn't even tell you this. Did you know that last weekend at Sonoma, was the 50th Shelby American Automobile Club meeting. And I went to it with my dad on Friday. And I met Chuck Cantwell, who's 91 years old, father of GT350 and Shelby American back in the day. He also did the Penske Camaro race program and the AMC Javelin stuff. He's the dude who did all that.
Wow.
Anyway.
AMC Javelin is like the tricolor AMC Javelins. That's like
So yeah, they bring out some heavy cars. They brought the first GT350, the big Shelby Concours. They did track racing of modern cars and old cars. It's their big event, and it's the 50th one. I wasn't going to do a third weekend of racing in a row. I would have loved to, but a little busy. But anyway, we went on the Friday, and it was cool to see that sort of action out there.
Were any of the guys from Monterey out there? Yes,
there were guys that are like, "You're here, so you're running, right?" And I was like, "No, I should be, but I'm not."
Did you wear like a Ford jacket?
I didn't need that stuff. I just creeped out. I wore a white t-shirt, but there were some for sale from some vintage events, and they had full like swap meet set up. I mean, look, it had an old timey feel to it.
Yeah,
I liked it. And then a couple guys brought Cobras with history, like real old, legit Cobras. Oh, from your guys, from the Boulder Museum.
Oh, of course, they had everything.
The Millers. Yeah, he had some real Cobras out there. There was a real Daytona Coupe there, right? That was at Goodwood when I was there once.
GT40s.
There were only a couple GT crates. I think there were 2 of them.
Amazing.
Thought I would mention it. Shout out to those guys. That was a fun event.
I've got Ford hot rods on the Brave. I have another illness going on right now. I'm basically watching every SVO Mustang auction.
You have several.
No, but we have one that's
Called mental illness.
Have you seen the white one that's been on the site?
No, I followed a black one and a low mileage maroon one from competition.
Yes. And we've had some really great low mile ones. We more recently had one from Alaska. Am I going to buy a SVO Mustang out of Anchorage?
I was thinking about it. I generally had Google Maps open and was like, what's the route from Anchorage to Sailor Supercar?
No, not even paid.
It was pretty nice for an Alaska car. I thought it was going to be rusty and everything. It wasn't.
No reserve. I was watching you and I ended up watching the same.
I know what we do. I'm not even going to show you my watch list because it's the same as yours probably. No, there's no wooden boats on it. Not right now.
Or on mine. There's a wooden boat route hope for Anchorage as well.
I'm sure there is. It's called the Pacific Ocean. You want probably a bigger 21 feet for that one. More than 2 seats. All right, boys. Anything else?
Thanks for letting me crash the party.
Huff, it will only took you working on Randy for 5 years to get behind the wheel of a race car.
Hey,
I think you can claim full credit.
I think when I finally showed up, he went and actually bought a car. Our attention's off you now. We just shifted over to Alex.
That's good.
And we go for one-liner comments, slight nudges, be smart, Alex, about it.
Send the links to my wife.
And the links will be sent back.
That's right. All right. What a pleasure.
It was good to see you guys.
Always good to enjoy a banquet of beers.
Oh my God.
We'll do it again.
Yeah,
we will.
Awesome.
And thanks to all of you for listening. We will catch you next time.
Bye.